first American pope in history, Pope Leo XIV.
Just 4 hours ago, the Pope, who was most recently a cardinal in Chicago, came outside on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica to greet the crowd. And Hoosiers could not be happier.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's kind of a halfway miracle, really.
Who knew? Like everybody said, that you can never have an American Pope and hear how God works. You know, the Holy Spirit's always in control.
St. Peter's Square was filled to the brim with a very energetic crowd. You can see them all clapping there, cheering on the new head of the Catholic Church.
Historic indeed, and many people are talking about that. First off, the Archbishop of Indianapolis, Archbishop Charles C. Thompson, he said that he was really surprised at the election of the first American Pope. He said that this was the one cardinal that he actually had never met. The Archbishop called it a hopeful surprise that the new Pope was selected so quickly.
I have to admit, I started thinking he's only been a cardinal less than 2 years. Can you imagine less than 2 years being a cardinal and your first conclave and you get elected the Pope? So I can't imagine what's going on in his head. But it's one of the fastest elections. So it shows, I think, the great unity of the cardinals being together and focused on what they felt was needed in the next Pope. So I think those are some exciting signs of what's in store for us.
And news spread of the new Pope, church bells rang at Catholic churches across Indianapolis. We talked to some of the Catholic faithful who expressed their joy at the selection of the new Pope.
It's tremendous. It's really great. I of course, loved Pope Francis and was very hopeful that we would have a Pope that would be engaging the world as he did. And from what I hear about Pope Leo, he's the same. And of course, he's from the United States and from Chicago. So he's a Midwesterner too. So that's even more exciting, honestly.
And a lot of Catholics told us that they were so excited that Pope Leo XIV was an American, but the Archbishop pointed out that during his speech today, the new Pope didn't speak in English. He actually addressed the crowd in Spanish and Italian, and the Archbishop reminded us that much of the new Pope's time has been spent serving in Peru, in Italy. He called the new Pope a man of peace. He called him a bridge builder, and he reminded Catholic faithful and anyone watching really that this man's life is now changed forever, and he reminded the Catholic faithful that he needs everyone's prayers to address the challenges ahead. And Felicia?
Yes, all right. Thanks so much, Emily. We do appreciate it. You know, during the NBC coverage today, they were saying that he had spent a third of his life in Peru, a third in Italy, and a third in the States. So that makes sense when you hear that as well.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as we heard the news here today that there was a white plume of smoke, we headed out to gather information. One of the places that we went was to St. John's Catholic Church. That's right across from the convention center in the heart of downtown.
And the bells were ringing. They rang for several hours in celebration of a new church leader. And Indianapolis watched along with the other 1.4 billion Catholics around the world. Father Rick Nagel at St. John's said during their noon mass, they prayed for the cardinals voting for the next pope and that the next elected pope to come soon and that he would be the right person.
At the beginning, I said we're going to pray the prayers that the church gives us to praying for the new pope, not knowing that we were going to have a new pope when we got out of mass. And so that was really beautiful because those who were here were praying for him as he's being elected. So I'll always remember that as a priest.
And it was an answered prayer by the end of Mass. I kind of joked with them. And I also got a chance to watch alongside Father Rick and other parishioners as we learned who the new Pope was. And it was just really exciting. Father Rick says his schedule the next couple of days will look different with this news as they wait for direction from the Archdiocese of Indianapolis. Then they will plan out how they will celebrate the new Pope from Chicago at St. John's.
Who knew? Like everybody said, that you can never have an American Pope and hear how God works. You know, the Holy Spirit's always in control. So he's inspired the cardinals to elect an American Pope. And what a beautiful gift for America and the whole world, because he's worked all over the world for the church.
So locally, Father Rick will wait for more word from the Archbishop of Indianapolis, and then they will figure out how to celebrate Pope Leo XIV in the coming days. Now, Sunday is Mother's Day, and there is a new church leader. So he is thinking this Sunday will be busy and crowded in church, which is always good news to a pastor. All right, and there are quite a few Hoosiers in Italy right now who got to witness the historic moment.
That's right, and this afternoon I just talked with a woman from Indianapolis. She took a spontaneous trip for Mother's Day to be there for the conclave.
This is something that I will never forget. This wonderful feeling, this unique moment that I'm going to be a part of. It's still surreal. I can't believe that I was there for it. I can't believe that I could see it, and it's a moment I'll hold on to forever. Especially as a Catholic, especially as someone who works for, a Catholic healthcare organization. Like, this is so special on so many different levels.
As Christina Mori, she works for Ascension St Vincent, and here are some of the shots of her day that she shared with us. Now, she said that she and her mom planned this last-minute trip for this weekend. The bad news is her mom's flight didn't make it, so she is excited to reunite with her mom in Rome when she arrives tomorrow, and their plan is to go together to something that's on the Pope's new schedule so that they can have that experience and do something along those lines tomorrow or Saturday.
So who is Pope Leo XIV? He was born Robert Francis Prevost. He's from Chicago. He's 69. Pope Leo is also a Peruvian citizen. He lived in Peru for years, first as a missionary and then as an archbishop. Pope Francis appointed him to that position for selecting bishops in 2023. And in fact, an IU professor told us today how that may have helped Pope Leo.
We're joined now by Ray Habersky with Indiana University, Indianapolis School of Liberal Arts. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So you have been watching, you study American history and religion. You've been watching the conclave. Your thoughts on this first ever American Pope?
Yeah, it's very exciting. I actually don't think many of us imagined it was going to be an American. And this is probably a wise choice because he has been both in the United States, born in Chicago, but has lived outside the United States and Latin America. So it's an interesting choice, bit of a surprise, but yeah, it's fascinating.
What's interesting about it, do you think?
So, I mean, it may seem kind of a compromise. He's sort of moderate, he's quiet, but he was close to Francis. He was given positions by Francis to do things with other bishops. So I think he is seen somewhat as an insider, someone who gets along with a lot of the people who he'll need to work with across the church. He's not very controversial in any particular way. He's got a few problems, but nothing that's really outstanding.
Okay. I was watching the coverage this afternoon. Former ambassador to the Vatican, Indiana's own Joe Donnelly, said this man clearly impressed the cardinals relatively quickly and faster than he thought. Do you agree with that?
Right. It is unusual, I think, for a conclave to end this fast, but I think we also have an idea of in popular culture that the conclave goes on for a long time and there's a lot of intrigue. So we don't know what was going on behind the scenes. And I guess we'll find out as it days, in the coming days, whether or not this was a choice that many of the cardinals had already lined up behind. And again, the thing that makes him interesting is that Francis has chosen most of the cardinals who voted for this new pope, right? So the majority of the people there right now who are voting were chosen by the past pope. So it's not shocking, I think, that this is the choice.
Why do you think this captivates all of us, even those who are not Catholic? Just the incredible amount of interest. We saw the crowds at the Vatican of all ages. There were some IU students studying abroad who were right there in Vatican Square. What is it about this, do you think?
Yeah, it must be. I've never been to one, but it must be incredibly exciting to be part of it. Part of it, what you see on TV is a sense of it. It's all these people connected by this one event. And they're connected through this one choice. And there are so few, I would say, legitimate global leaders. I mean, the United States is a bit in trouble right now, that electing a new pope sort of feels very consequential for the world, even if you're not Catholic. And because this is a pope who will lead over 1 billion people, right, in the Catholic Church, there's, again, some legitimacy to the idea of being a global leader. So I think that's part of the sense, the excitement that you would see reflected, around the square that's outside of St. Peter's. Yeah.
So what is next, do you think? What will we see next?
You'll probably have a very short window of cardinals giving some interviews, and there'll be some news stories out about who this person is and sort of perhaps a very brief agenda. But again, I think he's pretty quiet. And so I don't think he's going to come out with a pronouncement that will sort of excite anybody or push the papacy in any particular direction right now. He kept talking about peace in his initial speech, so that may be one of the things that he talks about. You know, this is certainly a time of war, and he will probably address that.
All right, Chicago's very own Pope Leo XIV. I want to know if he's a Sox or Cubs fan.
What do you think?
Time will tell. Ray Habrisky with IU, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, no problem.